If you're brand new to CK3 or you're just terrible, this is the video for you. We're going to go step by step on how to play the game, but we're only going to be covering the absolute bare minimum mechanics in order to go from nothing to owning an entire kingdom all in one lifetime. So let's get started with a new game. We're going to be doing a 867 start date, and we'll be playing as a custom ruler down here in the bottom left. So go ahead and hover your mouse over the Irish Islands in the top left and zoom in. We'll be playing as the Earldom of Thomond. Just click on this one right here. And in the bottom right, click on Create Your Own Ruler. So make sure you're male, give yourself a name, drop your age down to 16 years old. Under Education, click this button right here. Go all the way down to Brilliant Strategist, the 4-star red. Click Personality, add Generous. Then for other traits, add August. And the rest, we're just going to click points into here. So your final build should look something like this. 13 Diplomacy, 18 Martial, 15 Stewardship, 7 Intrigue, 7 Learning, and 12 Prowess. You don't need anything else from here. And by doing this, we are still allowing achievements. We're not going to be cheating or doing anything cheesy here. So let's go ahead and finalize. And in the bottom right, click Start. So we start off with two counties, the county of Thomond and Enos. These are the smallest chunks of land that you can own. And again, we own 2 of them, but we are going to rapidly expand to take over the entire island of Ireland. But first thing, we need to start off at the very top and address some of these pop-ups. So no lifestyle chosen. Go ahead and click on that with the 3 arrows. And we're going to go down the Martial tree. You don't need to know too much about all this. It is quite complex. Martial is obviously going to help us with combat and a few other things, so we're going to start off in this tree. Now we have to pick a lifestyle focus. There's 3 to choose from, and again, going into what each one does right now would be a bit too complex, so just take my word for it. Pick authority focus, the one in the middle, and we're off to the races. So we do need to get married, so let's go ahead and click the 2 rings at the top. We're going to find a wife that complements our combat stats to help us even further in the early game. So we're going to sort by martial skill. You click these 2 swords right here. It's going to order all the available ladies in descending order with the highest martial skill first. Now, we want to pick somebody that has a little bit of stewardship, and this lady's got 4. That's not good, and you'll understand why in a little bit. You want to have a high red score and a high green score. The other stuff is not really that important. So Ewa is looking like a pretty good candidate. Let's go ahead and send her a marriage proposal. So you click on her name, you click Send Proposal, and then we'll unpause, let a little bit of time go by. There we go, a few days later, and she accepted our marriage proposal. We are officially married. So we'll pause the game again, and we're going to go up to our council tab. This blue throne looking thing, we click on that. And we can see our wife right here, currently set to assist the ruler, which means she's going to give us bonuses to a bunch of different categories. But we really only care about, again, I mentioned before, we only care about combat, and we care about managing our domain. This other stuff is a little bit too complex for a beginner, so we're just going to be going to war, and then we're going to worry about focusing on managing the land that we take from people. So let's start with taking land from people. So let's set our focus to chivalry. That's going to add some of her red score to our red score. And again, this is the martial skill. This helps us out in combat. You can see right here, it increases the toughness of our units, it gives us better reinforcements, and we get a better advantage when commanding armies in combat, which is going to be huge for us. Now, one thing I do have to mention is a lot of this is RNG. If you have some people that aren't filled in their roles, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. I've done this before with nobody, and you can do it. Obviously, to be optimal, you want to put people in here, but in the very beginning, it's better just to focus on 1 or 2 things, learn those things very well, and then add to your arsenal as time goes on. So let's go ahead and close this out, and we need to go up to our army tab. So up here, the 2 red swords with the shield, we'll open that tab up, and we start with a few different men-at-arms units. Up here, we have 3 different kinds, and this is going to depend on RNG as well. So in your game, you might have none, you might have a bunch, you might only start with 1. It just depends. In this case, starting with 3 different types of units is pretty good. We need to give them a home. If you see right here, they are unstationed. So we'll click on their icon, and then these 2 arrows right here, we can change their holding station. We can change their station holding, and we're going to throw them. It doesn't matter where you put them, just put them down somewhere. And again, we're going to do the same thing with our pikemen. We're just going to throw them in. Now, we don't have a place for our light footmen, which is unfortunate. We have to go take land from somebody else to do that, which is not a big deal. That's what we're going to do right now. But before we do that, we also want to increase the number of units that we have. Now, if you're in a game where you start off with nothing here, then you need to go ahead and create men-at-arms regiments. So you click this button right here, and then you can create any of these units. Now, because we already have them set up, we're just going to add to their numbers. So let's say we want to add more bowmen. So we click on their icon, and then right here, we can increase the size to 3. We click it again to go to 4, and we can click it again to max it out at 5. So we want to max out as big a unit as we can in the very beginning because it's going to help us quite a bit. So our army is all set. Let's go ahead and X out of that. Now, if you hover at the very top right, a lot of this stuff isn't going to make a whole lot of sense in the beginning, so we'll just ignore most of this. The only thing you really need to worry about is right here. This is our total soldier count. So as you saw in the military screen before, we have light footmen, we have pikemen, and we have bowmen. Now, we added 300 bowmen to the regiment, but they don't start with the units. They have to be reinforced each month. In this case, we're getting 50 per month. We need 300 more, so it's going to take us 6 months to go to full strength. So we'll probably wait a little bit to get fully reinforced, and then we'll be on our way. Now, the next important task is we need to find an easy target to take land from. So Desmond, Ormond, Weemain would be really good targets. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Now, you'll notice each of our neighbors have different chunks of land within their county, and they have one castle or fort. This one has a bunch of empty land, and again, that has a fort. Now, you can tell it's the fort. It's got the flag on it. That's where their county capital is, and that's where we need to click on to be able to declare war. So you go ahead and right click on that. It's going to bring up this drop down menu. We click declare war, and it's going to bring up their total strength. They currently have 724 units, some of which are men at arms. A lot of them are levies, so it's not that big of a deal. Let's check and see how Ormond is looking. So these guys are actually quite a bit stronger than Desmond, so we probably want to save them for a little bit later. Let's go ahead and check on Weemain. And by the way, I have no clue. If you know how to pronounce this name, let me know. This looks like a mouthful. These guys are also quite strong. They're a little stronger than Desmond though, so I think maybe Desmond is the pick here. So let's go ahead and declare war. We could wait to reinforce all the way, but at this point, I think we have enough to overcome them. In order to actually declare war, we need to pick a casus belli. We have 4 different options, 3 of which are not valid because we do not qualify for. They have this red exclamation point. So let's go ahead and click on Conquer County. This is something that we are able to do. We are trying to take the earldom of Desmond, which is this county right here, and let's go ahead and declare war. Now we need to raise our troops. So we click raise all troops. They spawn right here, and they're going to very quickly raise up to their full strength. And now we need to send them over to the enemy, defeat them, and then siege down their capital fort. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to unpause. Now you can see right here, there's a lot going on this screen, but the really important information is right here. We are the blue side, the enemy is the red. If your blue side is moving this way, you're doing good. If you're moving this way, you're probably losing the battle. So we'll keep a quick eye on this, but it looks like we're winning this pretty easily. We probably don't have to worry about it too much. And there you go, we just won. So what ended up happening, if you don't take out the entire army, they usually ping pong back and forth to attacking you, running away, attacking you, running away. And that's fine. They'll whittle their numbers down eventually, and then we'll take their fort. So I'm going to speed this up. So it looks like we won the war without having to siege their capital all the way down. The reason that is because we captured the enemy war leader. Now there's a couple things we could do here. We could just immediately sue for peace, but we already have this war in the bag. So in order to take advantage of this situation, we're going to want to ransom their chief back to them. So if we go right up here to the current situations tab, it's going to bring a drop down. You can see you can ransom Chonkobar, or however you pronounce that name. We click on that and we can actually ransom him for 48 gold, which is almost as much as we have right now. We're basically going to double our money with no extra effort. We already have this war won, so let's go ahead and ransom him, and then we'll unpause. A couple days later, we're going to get the money in the bank. Beautiful. Another month or so, we'll have this thing sieged down and we can move on. There we go. So we actually won the war automatically. If you get enough war score for enough amount of time, the war will automatically end and your demands will be enforced. In this case, our demands were to take over this county in which we now have control. Now we are actually getting raided right now. These bastards are trying to take our money, our women. Let's not allow that. So we got to get there pretty quick, and we're going to get there just in time. Unfortunately, this is a tough battle. We may actually not win this. So let's see what happens. Yeah, it looks like unfortunately we are losing this battle, but sometimes that happens. We're going to have to just get raided. There's not much we can do about it. And it looks like we did end up losing that battle, but they are very weak now. Now, one of the bad things about having your capital raided is they can steal some of your people. So you can see right here, they actually killed they killed a lady. They took a few other people hostage. That's part of life though. So we're going to let them go. And they're going to continue raiding us, those bastards. We'll get them back, though. We'll get them back. And what we want to do next is we want to disband our units. We can't do that because the enemy just recently raided us. So let's see if we can move away and disband these guys. There we go. So enough time has gone by. We can disband all units. Let's go do that. We'll lick our wounds for a minute. Now, in that time we were waiting, we actually regained most of our levies and all of our men-at-arms. So our army is quite strong now. 1,600 is really, really good. It's close to double what we were fighting with before. So let's go ahead and check out Ormond. These are the guys that came in and raided us. So we want to take their land and make them wish they never came here before. We're going to go ahead and raise our armies again. But before we do that, notice that if we start raising our armies right here, they're actually going to pop up right here by this rally point, which means we have to physically move through 2 counties to get to their capital. If we move this rally point, we can actually save a bit of time. So we'll go ahead and click on the rally point, click on this button right here to move the rally point. And we're going to click on the closest one possible, raise all armies, and then we're going to go pay these bastards back. All right, and we're getting we're getting raided by everybody. I guess somebody sent out a memo. All right, let's finish our siege. So we won the siege. We can go ahead and end the war, enforce our demands. We now have another piece of land, and let's see if we can go over here. Nope, they raided us and ran off with the loot already, but again, that is life. So over time, we're going to unlock certain perks in the lifestyle that we pick. So up here at the top, it says available perks. Let's go ahead and put our perk points in. So we want to go ahead and put the first one into Serve the Crown. This is going to increase something called control growth by 0.3. Now, what control growth is, every time you take land, it resets the control down to very, very low. And if you have low control in any of these lands, it actually gives you less troops and less taxes. So you're going to be making less money and you're going to field a smaller army until you get that control back up to 100. So by taking that perk, it actually increases the control in this town significantly. Same thing over here in Ormond. We just took this one. This one is brand spanking new at 0. So we're getting a huge penalty to both of these. So over time, that will increase and we'll end up making more money and more troops from both of these lands. And another reason you don't want to get raided is because it does decrease the control. So you can see here in our capital, our control is actually less than 100 because of that. Now, an interesting thing happens once you take enough counties in a certain particular area called a duchy. So if you click this down here on your bottom right, it says duchy titles. A bunch of these counties are grouped up into different duchies. So for example, Munster, where we first started, we started out with 2 counties out of the total 4 counties in this entire duchy. Now, this is important, but we don't need to know why this is important just yet. We just need to know that we can upgrade our title now because we own enough of the land within this thing called a duchy. So let's go ahead and do that. At the top of the screen, you're going to see current situations. We're going to open that up and you can create the Duchy of Munster. So let's go ahead and do that. And in the bottom left, you can see we need to own 3 counties. We own 4, but we only need 3 of them to do this. And we need 87 gold. We currently have 135. So let's go ahead and create the title. There we go. So we are now considered the High Chieftain instead of an Earl. So moving up in the world. And actually we have another prisoner here we can ransom. I don't know who they are. Let's just get our money out of it. Let's go ahead and check on our neighbors and see how they're doing. Hopefully not too well. They are doing quite poorly actually. So this guy is in jail.
I'm going to jail!
And they only have 494 troops. So we are going to run, don't walk, declare war on them as soon as we can. Now, we also need to make sure to move our rally point so we are as close to their capital as possible. So we're going to move our rally point up there, raise all troops. A couple days later, they're ready to go. We're going to go siege the capital down and take it. Now, an interesting thing can happen here. We started sieging their capital down and they decided to not fight and go to siege some of our land down. So if you want to see who's going to win this siege race, you can click on these 3 spears. And it's going to bring up a pop-up right here. You can see this has roughly 8 months left. Now let's check and see how fast they're going to do theirs. Now theirs is also 8 months, which is a problem. We could either go back to defend or we can continue the siege. The reason we're going to continue in this case is because we are taking their capital. They're only taking a separate county, so it's not that big of a deal. Let's just continue and take this. Beautiful. So we took their capital and we also got some prisoners out of it, which we'll deal with in a little bit. But first thing first, let's see if we can distract them. I think they're going to finish the siege pretty much right now. Yeah, they got 19 days left, so it's probably gone. We'll take it back. Oh, it looks like we intimidated them. They don't want to be here when we get here. So we actually saved the siege only by a couple days. However, we want to continue to fight them. The sooner we can take them out, the sooner we can end this war, and then we can start war with somebody else and take more land. So there you go. We won the battle and they are retreating. That gave us enough war score to where we can go ahead and sue for peace. Now, we did also get somebody to ransom. So before you enter into a peace, sometimes it makes sense to sell people. We'll go ahead and sell these guys. Now, this is one thing to keep in mind. If you sell somebody, it actually can decrease your war score to the point where you don't have 100 anymore. So if you look down here, we have 96. We had 100. Now we only have 96. It's not a problem in this case because if we just wait 1 or 2 months, we're going to have the war score we need. need, or we can just chase them down, beat them in battle again, and then get that war score. But there are instances where you don't want to sell people. You want to end the war as soon as you can. There we go. We spanked him again. Let's go ahead and enforce our demands. We will take we main, or however you pronounce it. And now we have 5 pieces of land. We started with 2. Very, very quickly we expanded to 5. So again, it makes sense to check in on your troops once in a while just to see, should you hold off for a little bit, or do you have enough troops to continue? We have 1,700. It's probably enough to continue the fight. So let's check on some other neighbors here. Look at this. Perfect. So he has only 410 troops. He's very, very weak. We can definitely take this fight. So you know the drill. Move the rally point, raise the army, send them to the capital, and profit. There we go. We own their only province, and we captured a few people. It doesn't look like we can sell them, so we're just going to sue for peace. Again, we're going to take our land, and we'll move on with life. Now, let's check on our southern neighbors here. Ossory, they have 644. That's a good target. Let's also check out Leinster. They have 522. These guys are just easy pickings. Usually, it's not quite this easy. In your campaign, it might be a little bit harder. Sometimes they'll have allies. We'll run into that in just a minute, but just be aware, if you're not able to take land this quickly, this easily, there is a lot of RNG involved. Sometimes you just have to be a little bit patient until the opportunity arises, or you look around to find the easier targets on the map. So in this case, we don't have to do that. RNGesus is on our side. So we're going to go ahead and conquer this county. We'll be back in a sec. There we go. We own the land. We have 1 prisoner. We'll go ahead and ransom them, enforce our demands, and we own another piece of land. Now you'll notice there's something going on in the top right. You see this turning red? This says that our domain holdings is 7 out of 5. We are over our domain limit by 2, which is a bit of a problem. So in order to fix this, we can give land away to people and create vassals. The reason we don't want to be over a holding limit is because you actually get penalties. It doesn't have a penalty right now, but in the very near future, once these things expire, we are going to be getting a minus 20%. I believe it's 10 or 20% for being over. And then if we go 2 over, it's even worse. So we definitely don't want that to happen, but for now it's okay. Let's go and disband our units, and we'll talk about another aspect of the game that is a little bit more complex, but again, we're going to keep it as absolutely simple as possible. But before that, we have another perk to pick from. We kind of know the drill here. Let's open that up. We're going to go down this middle one again. On the right, we're going to pick strict organization. This is also going to increase the rate at which we control our counties by 20% in this case. So that should help us gain control of these lands, and we'll start getting more troops and money from these. But for now, we have huge gaps in our council. So if you see right here, empty council positions, you can also get to the screen once again by clicking the council button right here. Now, I don't want to go too far in the weeds in this because again, this is very complicated, but we definitely want to take advantage of having some counselors though. So we're going to click the plus sign. It's going to bring up this option where we can appoint a chancellor. The most important thing to look at aside from the stats is their current title. So if you look right here, this says your champion. So this guy is a champion. That means he is one of our combatants. If you look at this guy, he is our steward and a champion. This means he's a steward, which is one of the council positions. So he's actually fulfilling a role already. So if we reassign him, he will be taken away from this role and plugged into this one. We don't really want to swap people around right now. We just want to fill holes that are vacant. So let's go ahead and put this guy in. Now we are trying to fill for the chancellor position, which is based off of this blue diplomacy stat. Now, unfortunately, this guy is utter garbage, but it's better than nothing. So we're going to go ahead and put him in. Now, if you go to this bottom one, the marshal, you'll notice now we have our steward we can pick from or our chancellor. We don't want to reposition and we have nobody else to pick from. So you might think, well, I guess we're just going to have a vacancy. So this is where we come to another aspect of the game, the courtiers. Right below the council button, we'll click that and it's going to open up this screen. Don't worry about court positions. Don't worry about prisoners. Just click on this middle drop down button right here, the courtiers. There's a lot going on in here. The only thing you need to look for is this little recruit to court plus symbol. If we scroll down, you can see there's actually only one person that we can recruit right now, which is unfortunate. We don't have a whole lot of options, but again, we only need one person. So he's going to fill the role perfectly. So we're going to click that. We have to pay him 6 gold to bring him in. Let's go ahead and recruit him to the court. And then let's go back to our council and we're going to put him in. Now, again, we don't want to rearrange the steward or the chancellor. We want to find this guy that says he's a courtier. So let's assign him. And now he is filling that role. So now we're able to run our country a little bit smoother, but again, we are still over our domain limit. So we need to fix that. Let's go ahead and give this land away to somebody and do it it in a logical way. So there's many ways to do this. And when you're just starting out, let's keep it very simple. So what you could do is you can click on this land right here. Make sure you're clicking on the land that is the capital. So for example, if you click right here, open terrain, it's not going to help you. Click on the one with the castle, and in the bottom left, it says grant to. We're going to click this button, and we got to pick somebody from here. It doesn't really matter who you pick, just pick anybody at this point. There is a strategy to this, but again, where we're at in our stage, we just need somebody to hold it for us. I don't really care who. So we're going to click somebody. At the bottom right, we're going to click grant titles. And now you'll notice our domain holdings went from 7 out of 5 down to 6 out of 5. So the penalty is much less. However, it's not 0 yet, and we want to get it to 0. So let's go ahead and do one more trick. So we're going to go back to our council. We're going to go talk to our beautiful wife, open up that drop-down menu. And remember I said before, we only want to focus on combat and managing our domain. So if we click on manage domain, now instead of giving us a bonus to our combat stats, she's actually giving us a bonus to our stewardship now, which increases our domain holdings. We are now 6 out of 6, which is perfect. We are not over the limit. We can continue to progress and take land. Now we need to start taking more and more land because we have a lot of island to go through before we can end this video. So let's keep going. Now our neighbor right here, Osiri, has 960 units. That's definitely doable. We have basically double what they have. Let's go ahead and take them. There we go. We took their land. Let's double check and see if we have prisoners. We have a lot of prisoners. Beautiful. So we are going to sell everybody we can. So we're going to sell this lady, this guy. Now notice we had 3 options to sell prisoners. We went through 2 of them and one of them disappeared. The reason being is you can only send one offer at a time, and once it's accepted, that other offer will show back up. So we're going to unpause. There we go. So these 2 ransoms were accepted, and the third one is now back on the menu. So we're going to go ahead and click on that, accept that, and we got another 10. So we're good to go. Let's go ahead and end this war. Now we don't want to hold this land. We are 7 out of 6. We want to go back to 6 out of 6. Just to keep things simple, let's just keep giving it to the same guy we gave the last piece of land to. So what we can do is we can go back to that same piece of land. We click on this right here. You can see his picture pops up right here. Go ahead and right click on his picture, and down here you can see grant titles. So click on that. We just need to physically click on the land that we took. That's going to pop up grant titles. We give it to him and we are good to go. So the land is now out of our hands. We are back down to 6 out of 6. Now you'll notice we can't disband our troops because we are still at war. That means somebody declared war on us. This is a Viking raid. So basically what we need to do is defeat them before they siege these lands back. We need to wait for them for a little bit. So let's go ahead and unpause, wait for them to show up. All right, now we can see them on the horizon here. There's 1,400. Let's go ahead and move into a good position where we can try and catch them coming off of the boat. All right, they're going to go for Enos. Let's see if we can catch them. Nope, they're going to back out. So let's see where they actually end up showing up. They're coming down here, so let's hurry on. All right, they're doing the AI shuffle. You know how AI is. They can't make up their mind. So they're actually going to land over here at Weemain. Actually, they decided not to go to Weemain. They are right here. So now they're on land. They don't really know where they want to go. Let's let them commit somewhere and then we will chase them down. Yeah, the AI, for whatever reason, sometimes they do this back and forth stuff. And it looks like we'll be able to catch them right here. Nope, they're backing out again. So we just need to be a little bit patient. Just let them run back and forth. They'll commit somewhere eventually. And in the meantime, they are actually starving. Notice that they're undersupplied. This little red down arrow means that they're burning through their supplies and they are actually losing troops to attrition because of it. So even if we don't do anything, it's not that big of a deal. And in the meantime, we also got another perk. So let's go ahead and take a man's home. This is going to give us a +5 advantage when we fight on our own controlled turf. So anytime we fight these guys on our own lands, we are actually going to get a benefit now. So it's even easier to defeat them. Now, if we can catch these 300 stack all by themselves, that would be really, really good. All right, so unfortunately we didn't defeat them in time. They got reinforced, but we have a massive advantage in numbers and it didn't even matter in the end. Let's go ahead and sue for peace. Tell these guys to bugger off somewhere else and we'll disband our troops. All right, so we own basically half of Ireland at this point. We just need to keep repeating the process. I'm going to speed through this, and if anything interesting happens, I'm going to slow it down and discuss, but I'll come back at the very end. So we won the war. We now own the 3 counties that make up this duchy right here. So we'll go back to our duchy title screen. This is the Duchy of Connacht. So we own all of Munster and we own all of Connacht. We are over our domain limit by 1, but it's really not a big deal. We can go 1 over and not suffer too much penalty. And we're going to get something in just a minute where that'll actually free that up, but we're not quite there yet. So we won another war. What I recommend doing in this case is let's just keep all the lands in Munster and all the lands in Connacht Everything else we will give away to the exact same person. Don't worry about anything else. So this guy, again, we're going to go back to him, right click his picture, grant titles, give him this new piece of land that we just took. And one thing that I forgot to do, remember in the very beginning when we had men-at-arms, we had 3 groups and we only had 2 spots to put them. Now we own more spots than we have troops, so we can put them literally anywhere. Let's go ahead and place them. And you can just look at the plus sign and see which number's bigger. That's the important thing. Don't really worry about where they're going. Doesn't really matter. This one looks like it's the biggest. We get 4.5 for the attack and 5.6 for the defense. Everything else is less than that. So we're just going to put them down here. And also to make your life easier, if possible, just go ahead and click this plus size a few times and give yourself a few more troops. Now you do need to have enough prestige to do that. So this number right here in the middle, this is your prestige. We've racked up quite a bit because we haven't really been spending it and we've been taking a lot of people out. So we had a lot sitting around. So we just go ahead and put them into our light footmen. And again, it doesn't matter what units you're building. In the very beginning, in this scenario, you can pretty much do anything. As long as you have 1 or 2 of these and you max them out, you will be just fine. So now you'll notice we only have really 3 targets technically. This guy we already went to war with. He had 2 counties and we took 1 of the 2. Now that we went to war with him recently, we actually have a truce with him. So usually it's about 5 years. So we have to wait 5 years before we can attack him again, unless something happens in between. But if you want to check your truce timer, you can do that by clicking on your main portrait on the bottom left. And then under diplomacy right here, you're going to see a flag. And this says truce with High Chieftain. So you can see right here, 5 years. So on July 29th, 881, we are going to be able to go to war with him again without suffering massive penalties. So you could declare war on him technically. You're going to lose level of fame. It's just a lot of bad stuff you probably don't want. So I don't really recommend breaking truces. So let's focus on these last 3. So real quick before I speed through this, notice this guy has a massive ally. He's got 2,675 troops, but they're not all his. You see right down here, it says allies. This guy is allied with Gwynedd, which is, I believe, over here in Wales. So 1,700 troops are from Wales. That's a problem for us. So what we'll probably end up doing is just taking something easier. Ulster right here has only 600, almost 700 troops. That's an easy no-brainer. Let's go ahead and take that. Now, one thing, interestingly enough, we have so many troops on the field and we actually stack wipe them. They have nobody left. So we don't need this many troops. Every time you keep people in the field during battle, it actually costs you money and it costs you prestige. So what we can do is we can actually send them back to our friendly territory, the stack that we don't need, send them back to our own lands. And then down here in the bottom left, we can disband this army right now. Our expenses are going to go down significantly. Now we still have to pay for these guys, which we need to siege the capital down. That's not a big deal, but just be aware, if you have a lot of people sitting around, you don't need them all out, send them back home and disband them. You can always double check here. If you go to the war screen, you click on this button right here and you go to the war screen. In the bottom right, you can see how many troops they have. They have 25 available. We have 1,300 in the field. I'm not concerned about them coming back and attacking us. So that's why we can disband. If they still have a lot of people out in the field, you probably want to keep your troops out. But in this case, we're good to go. And we hit the jackpot on this one, man. We captured 5 people that we can ransom. So let's ransom everybody off. There we go. We made 90 gold off of that. That is huge. So we're going to sue for peace. We will take our lands, disband our armies, and again, we're going to give it to the same guy. We'll just go over to his territory, grant him the title, and now we're only over by 1. So now that we own enough land, we should be doing a few more things. We're going to go create some more titles. So if we come up here to our current situation tab, we can create the Duchy of Connacht, and we can create the Duchy of Leinster. So Leinster is owned by our vassal. We don't really want to mess with that. Oh, we got another person we can ransom. Sorry, I'm a greedy bastard. So what we want to do is create the duchy for the lands that we personally want to keep. So we already created the Munster Duchy. Let's go ahead and do the one for Connacht. So we're going to click that. We'll pay our fee. And now we have 2 duchies. However, we can also create the Kingdom of Ireland. The reason we can do this is because we own at least half of this island. This is where the limits of the Kingdom of Ireland are. And as long as you own half of it, you can create a kingdom. So let's go in here and we will create the Kingdom of Ireland. It's going to cost quite a bit. It's 175. We need 8 counties. We currently own 11, so we probably could have done it a few conquests ago, but that's fine. So 175, we're going to get 400 prestige out of it, which is huge. And now we can go to our throne room, but we don't really need to do anything there. There's stuff you can definitely do there, but again, it's outside the scope of this video. So we've got 3 more people to run through and then we'll be good to go. So we've got Oriel. They still have a big ally. We've got the Vikings here, Ivar the Boneless, and they have a massive army, 8,700. That is not going to happen. So we may be here a while waiting for that. And then we still have a truce with this guy who only has 148 troops. What a shame we can't declare war on him right now. Now we could go for the war right here with Oriel and just bite the bullet bullet. We will be fighting a pretty big army, but we have more troops. And we also have one benefit. All of our troops are consolidated locally. Their troops are split up. They have to come all the way over from Wales, which means they're going to be separated in the very beginning of this war. So what we can do is let's go ahead and move our rally point. So we're only one tile away from where they're going to be spawning in at. So let's go ahead and move. Let's declare our war, raise our army, and we're going to immediately go for them. And hopefully before they get off the tile, yep, we're going to initiate the battle. So now we're fighting half of their force. The other half is still over here gathering and trying to cross the ocean. So using this strategy can actually help you win when you're severely outnumbered as well. Uh-oh, our wife died giving birth. Womp womp.
What brings you to
Oh, here then.
the wild women, the ripping and the tearing?
So that's unfortunate because she was helping us with her Stewart stats. We weren't attached to her. There was no love in this marriage. We just wanted her for the green stats. So let's go ahead and find somebody else that can help fulfill that role. So again, we're going to sort by the stewardship. We're just going to pick somebody in here. It doesn't really matter. We'll wait a few days. She shows up in here. She can help us manage our domain again. And her steward skill is so good, we can actually hold one more domain. So we are 7 out of 8. So we might want to hold on to one more piece of land. But let's finish this war real quick. Now the enemy is starting to consolidate, but you'll notice they are still staggered. So it looks like the Welshmen are going to disembark here before their Oriel allies are going to be in here as well. So it's going to be, nope, they're actually all together. So we may actually lose this fight. It looks like we are actually likely going to lose this, but not all is lost. We just need to go back and regroup and try to fight them on better terms. Now you notice I've been clicking off a lot of these pop-ups. In a normal game, you probably want to pay attention to them, but when you're very first starting out, just click whatever. It really doesn't make that big of a difference most of the time. So I just click stuff off. We want to focus on more important things like winning battles. Now they're actually coming after us. So what we're going to do is we are going to retreat to a better defensible position. Generally, you want to fight somewhere in the hills, in the forest, maybe even the wetlands. So if you hover over a province, you see right here where it says terrain type, wetlands. Over here it says forest. You can actually see what kind of benefits. So defender gets +3 advantage when fighting in the forest. Wetlands, the defender gets +5. And in the hills, +5 as well. So hills or wetlands, either of these would be acceptable options. Let's see if they want to attack us. It looks like they do, and it says we're going to lose this fight, which is unfortunate, but again, we're not out of it. We just need to weather the storm. So our goal here is to hopefully kill off enough of their troops that they can't replenish them. Yeah, so we lost the battle. We're going to go lick our wounds, and we'll come back for more. Now, we did unlock another perk. Let's go ahead and go up the gallant tree this time. So we're going to pick Stalwart Leader. This is going to make our main character a little bit stronger, so we'll see if that helps us. Now, one thing we can do if we're struggling in the middle of a war, we can always recruit more troops. So we are maxed out bowmen, we're maxed out light footmen, we are not maxed out pikemen. So why don't we build a few pikemen? So we'll go ahead and add those numbers in, and they will slowly replenish. Now, one thing you'll notice, your men-at-arms do replenish in the middle of a war, but the levies do not. So again, every second that they're fighting, we're burning some of their troops. We're losing troops, but so are they. And so our goal is to hopefully burn their levies and then use our men-at-arms to take over in the end. But that's fine. It's just a battle of attrition. We just got to weather the storm. So let's go ahead and move into a better position. We want to wait just another month or two to get a couple reinforcement ticks, and then we're going to go in again. Look at that. We have so many troops now. 2,700 to their 1,900. This is a very winnable war for us. Now, we still don't have full pikemen, but I think we have enough to boot them off. It says it is an even battle, but we'll give it a shot. Yeah, it is a close battle, man. We are slightly in the lead, and it looks like we're just starting to pull away, and there you go. We got it. So even if you lose 2 battles, 3 battles, 4 battles, whatever, you're never really out of the fight unless they just completely overwhelm you. One thing we can do now, these Welshmen are going to retreat into the ocean. We can't retreat and chase them, but we can chase these other guys. So they're most likely going to go back to their land, usually to their capital. Not always, but usually. So let's go ahead and chase them back and see if we can catch them. Yep, that's exactly where they went, and we can fight them now that they're split up. We're going to destroy these guys. Yep, there they go. So now they're down to 350, and we just took the momentum of the war. It is now in our favor, big time. There we go. We took their capital. We could go fight them right now. We've lost enough troops in this war, so let's go ahead and just end it. We will enforce our demands, and now we are down to the 2 final provinces, Ireland, and we have completed this challenge. Now we're going to go ahead and give this land off to the same guy we've been giving it to. We might as well. Now he's starting to run into something that we ran into before as well. So if you click on his portrait, left click on his portrait, it's going to pull up his stats. He's actually now 5 out of 4 holdings, which is a problem for him. That means he's going to have issues controlling his land. So we're going to go ahead and give him a little bit of a helping hand. So if we go ahead and open up the current current situations tab, we can create a new duchy. We can create the Duchy of Ulster, which is this land up here at the top that we just conquered. We own 2 out of the 3. So again, we click on that, create the title. However, we don't want to hold the title. We already have enough titles. Let's go ahead and give it back to this guy. So we're going to give it down here, grant to on the bottom left. He's the only option. This is the steward. He's the guy that owns all this land that's going to benefit anyway. So let's give it right back to him. So now what that's going to allow him to do is he's able to give some of this land to his own vassals, which means he's not going to be over his holding limit and he's going to be more efficient in that case too. So a little bit of an advanced tip, but we're here. We might as well do it. All right. So we have basically one option right now. We need to wait. We can't declare war on these guys because we still have the truce, and we can't declare war on these guys because they are absurdly strong. 4,900 troops. There's no way we're going to win that battle, at least not right now. So we're going to speed 5 it. Let's go ahead and replenish all of our troops. We'll increase control in the lands that we took recently, and then we'll come back in just a minute. Okay, so this is something that can happen to you, especially if you expand your land incredibly quickly. You could get revolts from peasants. So you have 2 options. You can grant them a tax lien. This top option basically increases the control in those lands. It's really, really bad. If you have troops that you can use, I highly recommend doing this bottom option. It only adds 25 instead of 75, but it also spawns peasants that we have to destroy. So let's go and do that. They all spawn down here in the bottom. Oh, actually they're everywhere. So we are going to move our rally point somewhere in the middle, and we just got to squash them as quickly as we can. So let's go ahead and mop them up real quick. So no big deal. They are all levies. They have no men at arms. They don't really have good leaders most of the time either. So they're pretty easy to take out. We're just going to mop these guys up real quick. There you go. So we can end it. We can enforce the demands. That means they are pacified for 25 years. Most likely they won't rebel again for that time. And once again, we lost somebody. We have an empty council position. It looks like our really good steward died. That's very unfortunate. Now, and we don't have anybody to pick from. So we're going to go back to our courtiers tab. And unfortunately, you can't use women in these roles. So you have to pick a male. So we're going to pick from somebody in this row. It looks like this guy has 10 stewardship. Again, the green one is what we're hiring for. So let's go ahead and put him in. So he's going to cost us 8 gold. And we come back in here. We want to find the guy that is the courtier or champion, but definitely not the marshal or the chancellor, because we don't want to move these guys off of their role. So let's put him in, and we got our steward back. So we still have 9 months on our truce. Let's go ahead and wait a few more months, and then we'll declare war on this guy. And we did get another perk. Let's go ahead and put it again in gallant. Let's just keep going down this one. Doesn't really matter at this point. These bonuses will help you when you're starting to min-max, but where we're at in this stage, you could probably just pick anything. I highly recommend the first couple to pick these 2 at least. Serve the crown and strict organization. This is going to help you a lot in the very beginning. Once you get past that, you'll kind of figure it out as you go, or, you know, we'll have other guides on it. But for the purpose of this video, just make sure you have these 2 first, and then whatever you want to pick later is really not a big deal. And it looks like our truce did finally expire. We are able to declare war on these guys. Let's take this final place. Now we have way too many troops. They're going to have 300 to our 4,000. Let's go ahead and disband this second one right off the bat. And again, we took somebody prisoner. We go ahead and ransom them. They're going to make us siege the rest of it down. But I think for the 50 gold that we did, it's probably worth it. There we go. Let's enforce our demands. We'll give away this final piece of land. And now we're down to 1. Now this is always going to be the most difficult piece of land you take on the island. They are usually allied to a lot of the Scandinavian tribes. So if you look right here, Sealand and Northumbria. Northumbria is actually local, but they have only 68 troops, so it's really not a problem. The biggest issue is this one. So this is probably a battle I wouldn't recommend doing on a beginners. So you could probably just end it right here and say, okay, well, we did enough. But if you're interested, let's do a little bit of a bonus round. Let's try and get this war down to a manageable size. I would also highly recommend checking in once in a while, just declaring war and seeing who pops up. Now, if you look right here, he actually lost his alliance. So most likely what happened is this guy died. Yep, they got a new heir. He's only 24 years old. They have not started their alliance again. So this is the perfect opportunity. So let's go ahead and move our rally point here. We want to be right in the action right as soon as we declare war. And we only want to get this piece of land. So we're going to declare war for the county. Let's do it. Now they're going to run their troops in and try and siege some of our land down. This is our vassals' land. So I couldn't care any less what they do with our vassal land. We don't want them touching our capital, and I definitely don't want them touching some of our other lands. But if they want to romp around on the vassals' land, they can do that. That's just going to burn their manpower. Now, again, this is the target of the war, taking this land. So we own this. We actually occupy the war goal. Every month that we own this piece of land, our war score is going to tick up, and eventually we'll have enough to end the war, even if we don't fight them. However, we don't want them romping through our land too much, so let's go scare them off, hopefully. Oh, and I thought I had both of our troops selected. That was not the case, so let's go get back in there. So now one thing that's going to happen they actually ran out of supplies, so they're taking massive penalty right now. So every month that ticks by, they're going to be losing a lot of troops. So we don't need to push it too much, but what we'll probably do is we'll probably try and take this as soon as we can without them taking the fort. So they're actually going to abandon without us even taking a fight. Again, you don't have to fight battles to win battles. You just need to reposition and let them make poor choices. Moving around constantly using all of your supply is definitely a poor choice. They're already down to 2,500 troops here because they ran out of so much of their supply. They're probably going to go resupply now, which means we can probably take this back. Now, they did go back to their homeland to resupply, but they burnt through quite a bit of their manpower to do that. So you see their levies are down 1,300. Our levies are only down not even 100. So we're in very good shape here. Now, they may try and contest this, which means we need to get over here quickly. No, it looks like they're going to pass it. So we'll take this land back. They're going to try and take their land back, but we're going to be done way before they are. All right, here we go. So again, this is one of those instances where we should probably just sit back. We're getting war score. We don't want them to finish the siege, but we also don't want to push them off of it too soon because they are wasting troops every day that they sit on this. All right, so they're starting to get kind of close. So we're going to move in and try and push them off of it now. And we want to take this fight because this is probably going to be in our favor. Yeah, we do have actually, oh, it's close actually. Wow. No, they're starting to take it. Wow, they got really lucky on that. Yeah, we were definitely in control of that battle till the very end. But you know what? We have more troops than they do, I think, so we should be fine. They abandoned the siege, so they have to reinitiate it if they want to take that back again. Now, I don't really know what the AA is doing. They're just bouncing back and forth. And like I said, every day we own the war goal, we are getting ticking war score, so it doesn't really matter. We'll just let them kind of flounder. Yeah, they ran out of supplies, so they're taking pretty bad attrition here. So they actually want to take this fight. We're going to reinforce, and we are going to smash them. Look how badly they are outmatched. They had better troops, but we had better tactics. And this is an easy win. And there you go. We actually own all of Ireland now. See, we started out at 16 years old. We were 30 years old. So within 20 years, we were able to fight off the massive Viking armies, take all the land in Ireland. And we did it without having to use all the fancy stuff, like using a bunch of champions or stacking bonuses, any of that stuff. Very, very simple guide. I hope this all made sense. Let me know if you want to see a continuation of this, because there's a lot of problems that we're going to run into here. Between dealing with succession, dealing with vassals, expanding to take over more land. There's a lot of things we need to do, like upgrading lands, so on and so forth. But I appreciate your time, and we'll see you soon.